Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Her tireless work for the women's right is an enduring legacy, and her impact on the Supreme Court of the United States will inspire women for generations and generations. Today, we have one such personality with us who is creating an impact around the world. The Legal Desire Talk brings to you an episode on women of law. An investment banker turned advocate on record, Ms. Pallavi Pratap. From an investment banker to an advocate on record in Supreme Court.
So it was a very interesting journey. I started off as an investment banker because I could not clear my civil services examination, and I went to Australia to do my MBA in finance. When I came back, it was primarily that you have to work into the private sector, and God was kind that I got a job which was into investment banking. Once that started, it was a very interesting journey because at that around the same time I got married also, and both these careers, in terms of being a married person and also having a career at the same time, both of these were going parallel. But there was, after a couple of years, there was a time that came when we decided to go the family way, and that's when I thought that investment banking as a career would not really help me in moving on. There was a lot of traveling which was required, longer hours and that. So I thought that maybe becoming, because I had a law degree, I thought that it is better that I look at law as a career. So it was only by fluke or an accident, maybe I'm an accidental lawyer, so to say, that I became a lawyer, and I started practicing in Supreme Court. That was my first court that I actually went into. And I had, a panel also at that point in time for State of UP. I was a junior lawyer there. And that sort of had a lot of criminal matters which were coming in, Faujdari as they call it. So that got me interested into the criminal side and the criminal practice. And then thankfully in 2017, I took my A1 examination. It was the first attempt that I cleared into, and since then God has been kind. The practice has only been flourishing. Now, of course, I have a small little law firm also which is working out really well.
That's amazing. We see that you don't come from a family of lawyers. You are a first generation lawyer. So how did you get into the field and start practicing? How was that as a journey?
So it was very difficult. I think it has been difficult for everybody. It's not just me. But anybody who's a first generation lawyer, as a matter of fact, if we look at it even for second or third generational lawyer, anybody who's starting off, it is always difficult for them. But I think there is always an added difficulty for first generational lawyers, because it is not that you will have a name which is there, or it is not that the references will start coming to you from day one. So you basically have to sort of build up your own brand by the work that you do. And since these days the clients are all very, intelligent, they are very well informed about who they are engaging. So it becomes all the more difficult to, to show, if you've not had a plethora of work that you've done, to establish your credential in that manner. So God was kind. Because of the panel, I did a little bit of work, and then because I became an advocate on record, the kind of work which was coming in was coming from all kinds of areas. It was not just criminal matters, but also a lot of civil matters, service matter. Then by the time IBC had come into picture, so a lot of insolvency matters started to come, arbitration started to flow in. So it was just that there was a small network in terms of people who were trusting the fact that maybe I can actually deliver. And as a result of it, the word of mouth started to spread. People would recommend my name to others, and that's how I think the sort of the practice started to build up. And there is this gentleman who's a very senior advocate in Supreme Court. He once said to me that, Pallavi, if you have a client who comes today and he's satisfied, believe me, he's going to get you at least 3 clients in the next 3 years. And that is very true. You will see that initially the clients that you make, because even if you are not able to, not all cases you're going to win. It never happens. I mean, if people say that I've only won all the cases in my life, I think they've probably chosen their cases and not really done all the cases. But I think clients are more interested to see if you're putting in your 200% in the matter or not. And the moment they see, a lot of times we may have lost a case for a client, but they would still recommend us only because they've seen that we've given more than 100% to a specific matter. I think that really makes a lot of difference. So for first generation lawyers, there's a lot. Definitely the road is very difficult, but and there is a lot that they have to prove. But the journey is only for those people who decide not to give up. So it sort of works.
Definitely. So I'm going to touch a very sensitive topic over here. Uh, Being a first generation lawyer, and on top of that, being a female, and when you started off, I don't think there was much as a female oriented field as such. So, how did you cope up with those differences?
So I think by the time I came into the field, I think for women it had started to look up. I mean, we had some of the very fabulous senior advocates who were already women who were running in the corridor, and we were always looking at them, awed and all geeky and so inspired by them. So Meenakshi ma'am or Indu Malhotra, Justice Indu Malhotra used to practice at that point in time. There were so many of these senior advocates that you would look at them and you would be so inspired. And because it was not the time that you had virtual hearing, thankfully you had physical hearing then, so you would go inside the court and you would see a lot of your fellow AORs and younger lawyers, younger women lawyers arguing, and that I think always motivated. That okay, she's doing it so well. Look how she's presented. And even though when you're in a courtroom, um, uh, let's say you're watching some female lawyer who's arguing, and when you're sitting or standing in the back of the court, you will see a lot of men commenting. So some would be commenting, "Arey, ye to rat ke aayi hai, ye to rat ke bol rahi hai." Some would be saying, "No, why she's really presented it so well." Sometimes you would see the judge also acknowledge it. So you realize that there will always be different kinds of commentaries which will be going for the same transaction that is happening, so to say. But it is just everybody and their own, maybe I don't know, for want of a better word, sensitivity towards a woman that they would have a comment. So I've heard a lot of people say very negative things about women lawyers also, which then you sort of shudder every time that you are going to go and argue yourself, that someone's maybe going to make that kind of a comment for you also. But I think thankfully in Supreme Court we've seen a lot of judges who are very, very motivating in terms of female lawyers. They would give them good relief also. They will let them argue. They will notice them. They will make sure that they are encouraging them. They are motivating them. I think all of that really brings about a lot of difference, because as women, as it is, we are not always extremely confident. I mean, a lot of times it's just a facade that one would have just to make sure that nobody is able to hurt you so much. But I think when you start arguing, it just comes as a natural defense, and then you really do not care about what the world is thinking. You just go and argue your matter and come back, and I think 9 out of the 10 times you will always find some kind of a relief to you.
That's great and very inspirational to hear this. Because a lot of women, when they get into the field of law, one thing that always bugs them is, how they're going to be treated. Because a lot of times it's like, if the opposite counsel is male and the judge is also male, there are differences that are visible. So it's actually nice to hear this from a advocate and record that things are.
I feel that there are instances. I will not deny that there have not been instances where maybe a female lawyer has been bullied. But I'm telling you, out of the experience that I've had, these instances are very few and far in between. I think 90%, 95% of the times I've seen that men, especially counsels who are there on the opposite side, they will always be respectful. Because my primary, code of practice has been Supreme Court or High Court or the appellate tribunals, I've seen that the quality of opposite counsels, be it a male or a female, is extremely good. But yes, I'm sure lower courts, I've also felt that happen a couple of times. And I think that is just bullying your way into something. Unfortunately, they forget that if you can raise your voice, the other side is also not going to be quiet. They are also going to raise their voice.
Definitely.
So that's about it.
So now you have Pratap and Company as your firm. When did you decide to start that?
So this was always a dream. I think from the first year. As a matter of fact, with Anuj only, I think I had given my initial interview, I think in 2018, when I had got the most promising lawyer award from Legal Desire. And in that interview itself, said that my intention is to have a law firm and to look at an X number. Of course, with the pandemic, we've not been able to reach that number, but I think that was the first platform that yours was actually the first platform where I had disclosed that, and God has been kind that the company is still working and doing fabulously well in terms of whatever little work that we are generating just now. And also, I think hopefully, if the pandemic gets over really quickly and we are able to resume physical hearing, I think the work is only going to increase for all of us.
That's great. So, what is one thing that you would want to tell people out there who are entering the legal fraternity right now, considering this pandemic has created a lot of troubles for the graduating students and everyone?
I think yes, it is indeed very difficult for the graduating students, especially because one, of course, they are not getting their graduation. The entire ceremony is not happening. I've heard that it is only on virtual mode.
Yeah, they are graduating virtually.
How sad is that? But apart from that, I think also internships are not really coming around. Job offers are not there because everyone is struggling in the sense that the costs are being cut across law firms, across independent lawyers and all of that. But I think pandemic is posing just as an opportunity for everybody to learn. I mean, be it me or be it anybody else. I think the kind of areas that you really want to specialize into, you can look at it and sort of start learning and reading more about that specific area. I think that is the biggest opportunity that we have out of this. As far as work is concerned, I think work is, because the pie has reduced from what it used to be to what it is just now, and there are so many takers of that specific part in that pie. I think that is definitely a challenge that all of us are going through. So the only thing that I can say is that if you are able to keep yourself gainfully employed by maybe engaging into smaller matters or getting into jobs which might not look so lucrative just now, but to keep yourself busy and to learn at the same time, one should take up those opportunities and go ahead with it. Because this pandemic doesn't seem to be going away for another year or so.
So I really hope people find jobs. There's something to do because people who are graduating recently or finishing their degrees, it is very difficult because by the time the pandemic is going to get over, there will be 2 to 3 more graduating batches coming in, and so many people fighting for same jobs because obviously jobs are not going to increase. So it's going to be a difficult time.
Absolutely, I think yes, it is. It is going to be a difficult time for all of us. Be it people who just graduated or be it people. As a matter of fact, someone was telling us the other day that in a specific South Delhi locality where the entire basements used to be filled up with lawyers only, nearly 80% of them have been vacated only because the lawyers would taken up for 5 years or so into the practice and they've not been able to sustain. So God has been kind that we've been able to sustain, but for sure work has reduced, and also I think the patience has reduced as well. And also I think litigators, because ours happens to be a litigating law firm, the capacity for people to indulge into litigation, because it is definitely costly. I think they've started to realize that there are more important things that they should be investing into rather than going into litigation. So a lot of that work has reduced. Disposal is not there. So the work has absolutely reduced for everybody just now. But I think hopefully another year or so it should go away.
Let's all hope for that. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming here and being on board with us for such an engaging and interesting conversation. It's always a pleasure to speak to you heart to heart.
It's always been my pleasure, Pratap, and especially you and Anuj have always been extremely motivating and very supportive of me. So I think all the best to Legal Desire and all the interesting ventures that you all are doing, fashion law, forensic, criminal, all of that I think is a very interesting work that you all are doing. So all the best to
Thank you.
Thank you so much.